Welcome to the Reddit Chronicles. Today we are on malicious compliance. Our first post is from Jumbo Frimp. Empty everything from my bag, you got it. I work in a transportation facility, which requires me to go through a security checkpoint that inspects bags and such, and you have to go through a metal detector. They require us to remove any electronics or wires from our bags. Since I'm a technician, I carry a laptop and network cables in my bag plus some small hand tools. I was told I can leave the hand tools in the bag, but the wires and electronic have to be taken out. Fine. So I've been doing this for months until yesterday. I go through as usual, unpacking my bag of the required items and putting them in the bin and send it through. I send my bag afterwards. X-Ray says nothing, so I start reloading my bag. This is when X-Ray stops talking to her coworker friends and realizes she has to work. They start going through my bag, pulling out everything I just put back and telling me, this is supposed to come out and go in a bin. I did. You weren't paying attention. X-Ray then proceeds to tell me, anything metal has to come out, everything has to come out. Fine. The day rolls around and the same person is running X-Ray, so I take all of my usual stuff out of my bag and put it in a bin. Then I start removing everything from my bag. Tissue pack? Check. Quick wipes? Check. Pens? Check. Candy wrapper from 3 days ago? Check. You get the point. Every single item I pulled from my bag. Meanwhile, X-Ray is getting testy and a line is forming behind me. X-Ray tells me I'm holding up the line. Sorry, you said everything. After my bins and empty bag go through the X-Ray and come out, I begin to repack everything while watching the line behind me. A guy is now doing the same thing I just did, pulling everything from his bag. You did tell that guy everything. I don't want to get in trouble. The next guy behind him started doing it as well. As I set my bag on the floor and began to walk away, I turned to X-Ray and said, you did say everything. Have a nice day, and left. I think I might go back through after lunch. Clarification. This is a security checkpoint for employees of this transportation facility. It's a private security company and not posted by Rizuko. I need to find the actual issue. Okay. This story is pretty old, and it took place while I was in the Army at Korea under 2nd Infantry Division. Now anyone who's worked with 2nd Infantry Division knows how big of a train wreck that division is, and common sense doesn't exist there. Anyways, I was working with some encryption hardware that requires some keys to be used properly. The keys also had to be changed frequently as well, so I was tasked with solving an issue where the hardware wasn't working. I did the usual maintenance steps, and voila, I find out we got the wrong keys for this hardware. I phone my lieutenant that our keys are screwed and we need new ones. Now this info wasn't received well, since we just replaced the keys the day prior and we absolutely hate each other. With these two factors, she either believed I was screwing with her or did it wrong. So she tells me to run it again since I'm wrong. This continues 5 to 7 more times until she finally tells me that I can't go home until I figure out the issue correctly, and if I don't, then she will let some higher-up know about me. So at this point I'm pissed and I wanted to prove a point. I contacted the people who gave out these keys and found the issue, hint hint, wrong keys, and I asked them if they're down to answer my call at 1-700 and tell some people what they told me. After they agreed, I screwed off for the rest of the day and knocked out personal errands with this newfound free time I had. At around 17:00, I call back my lieutenant and had the people with keys added into the call. First thing said by the lieutenant was that she was on speaker and was in the meeting with the higher-ups she mentioned earlier. First question she asked was if I found the actual issue. I told her the key people are on the line as well and they'll explain it right now. They said we had the wrong keys. I could literally feel the glares at her on the phone since the dead silence lasted for around 20 seconds. It was really nice to embarrass the hell out of the person I hated in front of her bosses. Next up, posted by Mambo Monster. Put fuel in it. Cousin sent me this today, thought it belonged here. For context, he's a refueler at a mine in Australia. So the crew boilie, welder fabricator, calls me up last night, says, can you put fuel in the crane tonight please, it's low. Yeah mate, I'll catch ya later, no dramas. So I call him up few hours later and say, I'm on my way, where are you? He goes, X 106 inches, a digger. I said, yeah mate, where is that? I'm not sure. He repeats, I'm at X106. I said, I get that, but where is X106? I haven't been to it this round, so not sure where I need to come to. Again he states X106, and I reply same thing, and he doesn't respond. Thankfully a fitter, diesel mechanic, comes on radio, and lets me know where to go. Righto, I'm coming past there shortly, see you soon. So I rock on up, park my truck, get up on the crane, open the fuel tank cap, and what do I see? It's full, about 1 centimeter from top of the 150L 40 gallons tank. It wasn't a drama, it was on my route anyway, and possibly a faulty fuel gauge, no harm done. The boilie wanders over and goes, so are you going to put fuel in it now? This pissed me off a little, so I said, mate, it's full. Maybe other service cart did it, but it's full now. Instead of just thanking me for coming round and having a chat, what does he do? He kicks up this little dance shouting, do you see tire tracks from another service truck? I've been here all night and it hasn't come, it needs fuel. I said again, mate, it's full, it's about 1 centimeter from the top of the tank, it's full, have a look. He shouts, no it's not, the gauge is saying it's almost empty, so put some fuel in it, and does his little dance again. One more time I said the tank is full, but he again demands I put more fuel in it. Malicious compliance kicks in, and I went, right on bud, no worries. I climb off the crane, go round to my truck, back it up alongside the crane, pulled out the hose, climbed back onto crane, and started pumping. At about 4 liters it started just spraying a little fuel out, by 6 it starts overflowing, but I keep on pumping until I got to nearly 14 liters, by which time it had run all over the platform and all down the side of the crane. I turned to him and said, "Ya happy it's full?" He finally admits, "Oh, maybe it's got a faulty fuel gauge." "Oh, you think?" He then goes, "There's fuel all over it now." I looked at him and said, "Not my problem, bud. Go get the water blaster trailer and clean it yourself." Got in my truck and drove off. Next up, posted by Keto Saiba. Subway Operations Manager. You can't get rid of it, you have to use that, no matter what. Our story begins at a previous job, Subway. One of our sister stores had shut down, and they were offloading various equipment to other stores. We ended up getting their bread rack. These things aren't the biggest, but we didn't have a big store and we already had one. So we have this overflowing back room with 2 bread racks, one partially blocking the fire exit. I was getting more and more annoyed when finally, a few days later, I asked him one more time, "So we absolutely have to use it?" And Bob, manager, looks at me like I ate crayons for breakfast and said, "I already told you that." Well, if I have to use it, I was never told how I had to use it. Cue malicious compliance. I waited until Bob left for the day, then the fun began. For starters, I made a spot against the wall that would fit our bread rack. I unscrewed the glass door, then took out all the shelving units, then even the metal guide racks on the sides. I then threw in some empty bread trays and a few of the guide racks back, and converted it from a bread rack to a miscellaneous storage rack. It actually looked pretty good. Bob wasn't back around to our store for another few days, but when he returned, Bob goes to the back, starts doing his weekly checklist, and then stops at the bread rack turned storage cabinet. He turns around and goes, "Who the hell did this?" My coworker and I shared a very cheeky grin. I owned it and said, "I did." He asks why, looking all the world like he was ready to write me up. I politely informed Bob that I had asked to get rid of it. He had told me multiple times to use the bread rack, no matter what. He shakes his head in disappointment and goes back to his list, and we go back to our usual sandwich shenanigans. A few days later, our impromptu storage rack had inexplicably disappeared, and Bob was much more careful about how he chose his wording from then on. Thank you for listening to the Reddit Chronicles. Follow for more content.